see, you're not confident in it.
Well, I'm confident. I'm just not going to say 100% on the off chance that it's not.
Kami, what is your confidence interval?
Well, as we know, there's 95% confidence intervals. Those are the standards. So if I'm at 99.9%, that's a very narrow confidence interval, aka I'm very confident.
I like the way you worded that. It's there is a 95% confidence interval. Yes, Kami, there is. That was funny. It's like that one exists. Yup, it sure does.
There are also 99% confidence intervals, but 95% is the standard.
Yes. But math aside, yeah, I mean, let's stick with math. Okay, if we were to rate this Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 24 spoiler out of 10, what statistical number are we mathematically equating to its rating?
Okay, so there's three questions. There's three ways we can do this. One is rating it as a sneak peek spoiler. Two is rating it with the expected assumption of the context and of like the full chapter. And three is just okay. I kind of forgot how I was doing this, but I think three is just I had it in my head and I already lost.
One makes sense. Two is nonsensical, if I'm understanding you. You want us to rate it based on how much we expected it? Why would we? What do you mean?
No. Two
how
and three.
Expected it was.
I already forgot.
That was pretty.
Little thing, which I suppose it's a decent piece of action. I do wonder that the lower half panel, it would have been better if it was something like in a double spread, just to show the sort of hype up the action a bit instead of just like on a single page. But unfortunately,
Ikimoto's ass.
Let's see. Which unfortunately, Ikimoto does not do double pages except for that one color spread at the start of Blue Vortex. So I feel like let's see, that might have been a bit more hyped if it was a double spread, but I suppose it's decent. I suppose in the context, I'd say maybe like 7, maybe. No, I don't think it's like a 10 out of 10 panel thing, but I'd say at least 7 is like, it looks like a good action piece. Mm-hmm.
Real quick, what double page spread are you talking about at the beginning of 2 Blue Vortex?
It's the freaking yellow page where you just see Boruto on one page and then the rest of his jacket on the other page with the title. It's the first page of 2 Blue Vortex.
Okay. I don't think we can count that.
Yeah, it's like
it's not double sprayedy as it gets. Yes.
Yeah, that's the closest we got to a double spread in Boruto manga.
It's so true.
Okay, I remember my things now, and there's actually 4 now. So one is just as a spoiler. So like in terms of being a spoiler less. What are we rating it? 2 is just as a page, independent of all else, just as a singular manga page. How would we rate it? 3 is what we rate the entire chapter purely based on the spoiler. So what we expect the total chapter to be based on the spoiler.
Ooh, hold on. I'm dropping frames. That is not looking good. It's either that or I need to delete some things on my computer. Yep. I definitely delete some things on my computer. Okay. So I would stay into, I'm not gonna really leave the podcast. But what I am gonna do is, instead of, wondering when they're gonna get started, oh my god, I'm losing frames like crazy. I need to start deleting some stuff on my computer. I'm just gonna go on ahead and just start reviewing what I got. because I think I need to just get into this. All right, let me go ahead and just switch over to here. There we go. Okay. What we're seeing so far in the sneak peek page is pretty much Jorah is getting rocked by Kawaki. Now, Kawaki is using his bow staff, and he just pierced one of Jorah's eyes. So now Jorah is pretty much not able to keep up with Kawaki at this given moment, not like right now. But he's pretty much tanking his attacks. Kawaki now just got his limiters rescinded. Oh my, just got his limiters rescinded, and he also is using Karma, so that should also amplify his abilities tenfold. I don't know how much. I think from what I heard about the limiters being rescinded, from Jorah at least, that his power is now more exponentially greater than before. So this could mean a wide range of things. This could mean that Kawaki's power has skyrocketed exponentially. We don't know whether that's like I can't really quantify, but what we do know is that he is way more powerful than his base form, which was just his defenses were maxed out to the absolute like highest settings, making him near immortal, and he's way stronger than any previous versions. Even his I would say his Karma V2 form, he might actually have surpassed that in the pre-time skip. What we're looking at right now, what could potentially happen is this. So what could potentially happen is that we could end up seeing more of Kawaki's powers and abilities as we get like more nuance and more context into chapter 24. I don't know if chapter 24 is going to go that route of showing all of Kawaki's powers and abilities. Maybe that could be for the next chapters or chapters to come. But we also have yet to see Jorah unleash his full power and his full abilities. Now, what I want to say is this. Kawaki is I feel like he's at his prime right about now. Because I don't know if he's truly at his prime, but this is the Kawaki we're potentially going to see in the future. He has all of Ishiki's powers and abilities without worrying about Ishiki taking over his body. He has access to that Karma V2 state, which I've always talked about, which I talked about in my last episode, which if you guys really want to go see that, I will link it in the description down below, so that way you guys can go watch my podcast. And we also have, pretty much Daikoku Ten, Sukuna Hikona. He has access to, he pretty much has a nano ninja tech body, which allows him to, create shields, weaponry, all types of weaponry out of his arms, like he's from Prototype. Kawaki is just stacked right about now, and he's even more powerful than ever. And I can't say that based off of this that, Jorah is going to lose or Kawaki is going to lose until we get the chapter. But what I am going to say for now is that what we're seeing right here, we're seeing a Kawaki who's, a Kawaki who pretty much is extremely powerful and is going up against an absolute monster like Jorah. So, yeah. What I can say for now is that based off the sneak peek page, right about now, Jorah is pretty much tanking all of Kawaki's attacks, but Kawaki is just going full ape shit on Jorah right now. And we don't know whether or not if rescinding his limiters is going to give him new abilities. What we do know, as of right now, he potentially could be rivaling Jorah, or could be stronger than he is outright. So, yeah. Right about now, the fight is in Kawaki's favor. But I feel like that it could also change depending on whether or not if Jorah really wants to get serious. and whether or not if Jorah does have a regenerative healing ability, so he should be able to, in theory, heal his eye sooner or later, or whether or not if Ikimoto plans on, having Jorah's eye just being permanently damaged. So he might have to head back to the Shinju hideout and repair his eye, which the tree has been shown to be able to have the ability to repair Shinjus and, reconstitute their bodies back to their original forms. Like if they die and become Thorn Souls, they can easily be brought back to the hideout and they can pretty much be reconstituted back to their original, like I said, their original forms. But I don't know if Ikimoto's going to allow Jorah to heal or whether or not if that's going to happen afterwards. But based off this panel right now, what we're seeing is a power gap between Jorah and Kawaki, whether or not if Kawaki is on Jorah's level or if he's outright surpassed him. So this is what I'm parsing out from this sneak peek page all by itself. So yeah, this is I can't wait to see sneak peek page number 2. I'm gonna go on ahead and review that later on. I'm talking about sneak peek page number 1. This is sneak peek page number 1. Now sneak peek page number 2 might be coming out on the 15th, so stay tuned for that. I'm also going to link my podcast, like I said, in the description, so that way you guys can go on ahead and see what I got so far. I'm trying to come up with a catalog of things that you guys can watch. So that way, if you guys want to watch more in-depth discussions about certain things, I will link you to my podcast for extra content. All right, I'm going to head back to the Walkie Talkie podcast and see what they think about this.
Worst thing, realistically, I don't know. Realistically, the worst thing they could do is the Delta thing is going to be so dreadful. It's just going to be Delta saying, "Hey guys, I was told to meet up at this rendezvous spot with you guys and wait for further instructions." And they just sit there and wait for Kawaki/Boruto. And that's all they do. Maybe even Saruto wakes up and just talks to them or whatever, but they don't do anything. Just wait for Boruto.
That's the worst they could do is just not do anything. Or, okay, either that, or what do you think would be worse? If they just fight like a couple claw grinds collectively as a team the entire time.
I suppose the worst thing they could do is fight a bunch of claw games, be so bad at it that they lose, the thing that they have.
Basically in Sage mode loses to the claw grind.
He gets bitten. That's the worst thing they could do.
Yeah.
Immortal, what do you think?
What was the question? Because I had muted my mic I had went on mute for a quick second.
Realistically,
what do you think the worst thing they could possibly do in regards to Mitsuki, Konohamaru, and Delta next chapter be? What would be the most aggravating thing? The thing that's making you punch all the air in the world?
The most frustrating thing as a viewer that you would hate for the story to do?
What I would hate is for them to not be able to get the Thorn Souls back to Shinki and Moegi. And just completely discard it and then allow Matsuri and Ryu to come back after going through all the trouble to destroy them and get their Thorn Souls.
That's the worst you can think of?
That is.
So, Mitsuki dying to a claw grind would be worse.
Oh my god. If Mitsuki does die to a claw grind, I probably am just not going to read reports.
Yeah,
I'm just like, oh my god. I'm sorry. There's we're already seeing Mitsuki just soloing call grinds all by himself, even in his Snake Stage mode. There should be no reason for why he would lose to a claw grind 1v1.
Well, actually, I'll give you one, and I hate this. So, as you just said, in his Sage mode, he was beating the claw grind. So, what if he runs out of Sage mode and can't beat the claw grind?
He should still have access to Snake, to his original abilities, like lightning. He should have access to purple lightning.
He
How many
should.
abilities he doesn't use?
Only way I see like only way I could see maybe Mitsuki losing to a Clotogram is if like he has to save like Sarada somehow, and it's like at the expense of his own like safety or something. Then
I
I'd be
hate
just
that.
seeing.
Kill Sarada.
Ouch, that's harsh.
Kill Yodo again. Yodo my
Yeah,
boy
but-
Mitsuki.
But yeah,
Mitsuki is
oh,
off limits. Mitsuki is off limits until all he has to do is go back to his pre-academy level of power versus Orochimaru. That's my bare minimum requirement. I'm not asking for Mitsuki to power up. I'm asking for him to just go back to where he was before the Boruto manga even started 10 years ago. And that's all. Until then, he is off limits.
So
Until I see him speak like Orochimaru level characters. Don't touch him.
So I think what Immortal's describing is actually a very interesting conversation to be had, because I do think it's a very precarious, very sensitive, like double-edged sword. Would we, under what context, be okay or not be okay with, hypothetically, one of the Thorn Souls, say, rotting? And I think Moegi's, with Matsuri's, was a little bit more justifiable in this case, or like the one that we should be talking about considering the context of the situation, where we just know about that, where we don't know about Araya really. So I can see this going either way. As a viewer, it could be a good thing or a bad thing, because like Immortal just said, we just saw them do all this effort to get the Soul Thorn, so if it just all goes to naught, then it was just completely a waste of time, but not really, because I feel like they put in all that effort, so if they have a complete failure like that, that's very good for potential character building, which I would really hope that they play with. At the same
There's a lot
time,
of things they could do with that, so I don't think it'd be a problem. Like, just to give you an example, Sasuke Retrieval arc.
Yeah.
They failed to bring him back. One of the best arcs of the entire story. Like,
yeah. So, at the same time, I think one way they could do it, rather than them failing, I think what could be really interesting. This is stupid, so maybe they'd have to like figure some way around this, but I would like it to be Boruto's fault, aka
that's what I was gonna say.
oh,
They-
Momoshiki. Oh.
I don't know the best way to do this, but let's just say hypothetically, they wait so long at the rendezvous spot that they were like 5 minutes away from getting the Thorn Soul to Moegi's tree, but it rotted 5 minutes in time because Boruto told them to wait there. Whereas if they just went straight there, they would have got it. And
Okay, I
so-
don't like that as much because in that one's case, I feel like with the whole follow your heart theme that they've kind of done a couple of times throughout this, I feel like Konohama and Mitsuki would just follow their heart and save Moegi, and then them not doing it, listening to Boruto. So essentially, them not breaking the rules for their friend, that would be their flaw, not Boruto's at that point. So instead of it's going to be Boruto's fault, I mean, the simple one is he showed up in the first place. That was his mistake. I think having it to where either Konohamaru dies and or Moegi isn't saved, ultimately because Boruto showed up and thus Jura showed up, that's the reason that happens. It just in terms of like the initial kickstarting, if Boruto never showed up, either Konohamaru doesn't die and or Moegi is saved. That works. Because that'd be like, Boruto, this is ultimately your fault in the first place. But it depends on what they do with that specifically, though, because you could do it to where that's just terrible writing. Like, yeah, Boruto, you should have let your friend die. Okay, maybe don't do that. But that general premise, they could do a lot with. It kind of just boils down to specifics at that point. But other than that, what other mistake can he do? Okay, he let Momoshiki out because of Kawaki plan. Okay, that can work too. He overestimated Kawaki's power. We gotta come up with actual flaws that make sense for his character. Now, of course, they might do a thing that just like Himawari and Sarada, they're just gonna make up a flaw that never existed for this arc and go with it. They might do that. In fact, that would be the most consistent thing to do. But that doesn't mean that's what they should do.
Yeah. So, I think it would be very interesting for it to be Boruto's fault, because not only is this good for all of the characters, Sarada's stopping herself from holding back because of Boruto. Boruto failed. Mitsuki is looking at Kawaki slash Boruto, now Boruto, as his son again. Boruto failed. What happens there? Konohamaru, most interesting, sussing out Boruto slash Shikamaru. How could that play into things, especially since he trusted Boruto, and since Boruto failed, now Matsuri, aka Moegi's gone, the person who Konohamaru loves the most slash is most vulnerable for. So, like, how would he be Boruto now, especially after that? And then arguably the most interesting one, even above Konohamaru, Boruto himself. Boruto failed. He's probably gonna beat himself up more so than anyone else. Look at the Sasuke retrieval arc. Naruto blamed himself in a way more than anyone else. It's not like Choji was being mean to Naruto for not bringing Sasuke back, even though he technically could. I think you could have done something there with maybe like Kiba or something, or maybe like Kiba's like blaming Shikamaru for like you unnecessarily risked our lives or something, or maybe like Tamari or Asuma, since they're doing the whole thing with Shikamaru crying at the end anyways. You could have done something there, but either way, everyone survived, and it's like a good thing, and they're hyping it up as happy and all of that. But I think you could do something interesting here, like the reverse of that in a way, where they're blaming Boruto, Boruto's blaming himself more so than anyone else is blaming him. Especially with omnipotence, I think that could be definitely something they could play with, but what do you guys think?
Well, also add Koji and Ada in that regard as well. You know, how they were responding to this.
Koji, yeah, I don't think Ada would care.
Could you repeat the question?
So, do you think if Boruto fails, specifically if, let's just say Matsuri's soul thorn rots, and it's Boruto's fault, how do you think the story should or would play with that in terms of how Boruto views the situation and then how other characters view the situation as well?
Well, I could probably see Team 10, as at the moment, they are still extremely hostile towards Boruto, thinking that he did what Kawaki did. I could definitely see them being still mad and less trusting, which could cause maybe conflict between Shikamaru and his son at the very least, because Shikamaru knows the truth right now. Konohamaru, I don't know. I think there's signs that he's starting to maybe trust Boruto again, so this could possibly shatter this trust or not.
Exactly, be the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah,
which would be good narratively.
I mean, actually, okay, so this is interesting because there's those panels of Inojin and Shikadai and Koji's 10 Directions vision. So, like, what if they're, like, trying to fight Boruto or Koji? Because they're so mad at them.
Yeah, we could do that.
So, to be honest,
That's what exposes their location. Like, maybe Kira or Code fights Koji because of Team 10 fighting Boruto or something like that.
Because I don't know how they're going to get to the hideout, because I don't think they're just going to randomly stumble across it. So either they're going to tell Boruto, tell as in like follow his tail, not like tell as in like speak to him, or Boruto's going to bring him there, or maybe Koji's going to bring him there, but like how do we think that's going to play out?
Well, it could be they just run into each other by coincidence or something. Mm-hmm.
I don't think so, because, I mean, the Koji's weird genjutsu barrier blockade at the front entrance of this random Orochimaru hideout layer things worked for the past 2 years. It'd be weird and convenient.
Well, on a sort of mission, if you will.
Okay. Okay, but either way, they're going to have to go back to the hideout from that mission, so how are they going to get to the hideout? Are they going to, like, see Boruto, but Boruto doesn't see them, and they're going to, like, sneak their way in to where Boruto doesn't know, or Koji? Is Boruto going to invite them? Is Inojin going to fight his way to Boruto's hideout? How's it going to play out?
It depends. I think what could happen is, depending on the situation itself, he could have, like, Kashin Koji send a toad like he did back in chapter, I would say, 14 or 13, or 4. I don't know. I forgot what chapter it was when he met Kashin Koji, but what he could do is have one of those toads reverse summon Inojin to their hideout in the same way Kashin Koji did with Boruto. But that depends on what's going on. Why does Inojin need to be there with Kashin Koji and Boruto? Because in the future, one of the future scenarios was that I've noticed that Inojin had a scar on his eye, if I'm not mistaken.
Interesting.
And something could have happened, whether or not if he was fighting one of the Shinjus or what. But one thing I do know is that in that feature scenario that we just seen, Inogen could potentially either join Boruto and Kashin Koji, and to help stop the Shinjus, which is their primary goal, which is not just theirs, but everyone's primary goal at this given point, and just join them. Or, like you said, they could be against Boruto and Kashin Koji because of omnipotence, and he could either exploit them in a sense. But who
Especially
knows?
if Inojin has a scar, but who would give it to him? Would Koji do that? Boruto, I don't think he would.
No, he wouldn't. But I do know that Matsuri did find one of their hideouts, one of Orochimaru's hideouts, and that's how he encountered Gaara and Shinki and Araya, and including Yodo. So I'm guessing maybe, I don't know, maybe he could have, he could be trying to trail one of the Shinjus. Who knows? Because I just thought it was a little weird that in one of the future scenarios that Inojin is a part of it. Now, let me zoom in. Actually, let me zoom in.
Yeah, I'm looking at it too. I mean, like, unless it's Gara, it probably is Inojin. Because, like, I mean, there'd be Code if not for the hair not being Code's hair. So, and he doesn't have the eyeshadow. So Inojin is the most likely. That's blatantly Koji's hideout. Why
Can
does he
you
have a
post the
scar?
panel?
Yeah.
In chat?
Yeah, one sec.
Okay. And then we'll all be able
I mean, if
to
you don't know
see.
if, like, Shikadai's in the same room or if that's a separate future with Shikadai or whatever. But
At the very
Yeah,
least, it's a
I got-
different build, so it's probably a different time, even if it's directly before or after.
yeah.
we gotta take into consideration that this is a future scenario, so it either could happen or it might not happen.
You know what? I'm gonna guess. I really like the fan theory that everyone has had at this point, that Inojin's gonna wake up all discombobulated and immune to omnipotence or whatever. I like the idea that Kawaki's gonna scar him. Kawaki's gonna try and kill him for exposing the truth. The secret, or
I like that.
especially since Damon's hyping it up for all of Two Blue Vortex so far, you might as well play with it here.
Yeah.
I'd be down.
The rest of
If
Team
they could
7
do that.
follow along.
Hey, Kawaki, what happens if someone finds out about your life, someone exposes it? Like, what will that do to Kawaki's mental state if everyone figured out the truth again?
Yeah. I
To
mean,
be honest,
personally... Oh, yeah, go ahead.
to be honest, I don't think the truth will be exposed until, like, at least a third towards the end of the manga's run.
I do agree with that.
And do you think that
I think something that would be way more interesting if we're gonna have Inojin versus Kawaki for whatever reason randomly, or it probably should have been when Kawaki still had his limiters on, but whatever. I think that they should have been fighting over not Inojin being immune to omnipotence, but a disagreement over Himawari, especially now that the Nine Tails is here and Inojin defended Himawari from Jura, and how that could play out. I think they could do something really interesting there that I don't think they're going to do.
Yeah, that
Well,
I can
give
see
us an
that.
example of what you're thinking.
Inojin protected Himawari from Jura. Maybe Kawaki ninja mindset can be involved. That Inojin was trying to get himself killed, but he didn't. Maybe it could be like a frustration thing with Sasuke to Naruto, to where he doesn't like the fact, especially if Kawaki's limited and he keeps losing everyone else. Maybe he sees Inojin do good against Jura or something. I don't know. I'm just throwing random things out there, just spitballing some ideas. I would like it to be over Himawari in a disagreement that they have about her, especially now that she has the Nine Tails, and how they should like treat her or go about actions with her. Maybe Kawaki wants to lock her up to keep her safe, maybe like in Daikokunin, whereas Inojin disagrees.
That could be
Wants
cool,
to-
yeah.
Rowing with her. It's just,
To be honest, I'm
what
curious
ideas
to
are.
see how the village reacts to the fact that Himawari is now the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. Have they at least evolved from how they treated Naruto, or are they doing it the same thing or something?
They
They've
should
definitely evolved.
they
Yeah.
definitely should have evolved from that. If they didn't, then I don't know what to say.
What would be interesting is
If they-
when do we think the villagers evolve? Because hypothetically, Naruto dies in the pain arc of a heart attack, and then real quickly Danzo swoops in before Pain can, and he just like makes a new Nine Tails Jinchuriki out of Falodle. Shout out Falodle, the new background character ninja who's the new Nine Tails Jinchuriki. And Pain just leaves because he doesn't care anymore. Is the village gonna hate Falodle for being the Nine Tails Jinchuriki? I think so. Because I think they like Naruto because he's Naruto. Not because they like the Nine Tails. They think they're just gonna be mean to Falodle.
But
Until
Yeah.
Falodle proves himself.
Especially since at this point, like, Kurama hasn't had a change of heart, so you have Naruto saving the village, and it completely changes their mind on Naruto, so they're not as prejudiced against the Jinchuriki automatically, at least. Then you get Kurama himself just being nice. And at that point, there's just no reason to really hate him anymore.
yeah,
I do think it's been a lot of time since the Nine Tails attack, so it's not as fresh as it was early on. But also the fact that the Nine Tails was sealed into the baby and Naruto was from the beginning the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. That's the only existence they knew of him. Whereas if they put it in someone they already know or a friend of theirs, they're probably definitely not gonna be mean to them randomly.
Then again, Killer B. Killer B wasn't a Jinchuriki until he was like 6 or whatever, and then people on a flip of a switch started being mean to him.
True, but how many villagers knew Killer Bee? But I agree with you on that. Maybe you could argue it's a
It was
little bit
also a different
non-tangible,
time back
but-
then as well. Like, back then, people were just worse about this, you know?
Yeah, plus Mabui was a little bit hesitant on killing him, but maybe not really, but it was a little bit weird there. Like, there's something going on there for sure.
Well, he
'Cause they
liked Killer
knew
B,
him.
though, originally. Like,
Yeah.
they were friends before, so that, yeah.
It's kind of like Yashimaru in that regard with Gaara.
Yeah, to where there's that conflict.
Okay, so that's interesting. So, okay. It's no longer really fresh. Ninetales hasn't done anything in years, but at the same time, they also hated Naruto not just because he was Ninetales Jinchuriki, but because he was a brat. Growing up, he was always playing pranks and just being a nuisance and causing a ruckus and havoc for all the villagers. Even though the villagers did it first, Naruto definitely responded. He retaliated with as much annoyance as he possibly could. Whereas I'm guessing Flottle in this case is gonna be like, guys, what did I do wrong? He's not gonna be like, oh yeah, screw you guys too, unlike Naruto. So that could also play a part into it.
They also might know that someone was behind the Ninetales attack officially now, which could play a part as well to put less blame on the Ninetales and more on Obito.
I mean, well, that was already weird because they already thought it was the Uchiha. Anyways, was that a publicly known thing? Because the Uchiha weren't discriminated by the whole village.
Like the higher ups. That was hush hush that it might be them. So
I
Oh,
believe
then-
Iruka doesn't think the Uchiha clan was behind it. He just
So
thinks
then-
the Ninetales appeared.
Was the
Um,
Uchiha discriminated by the average villager or not?
my understanding, the Itachi novel anime adaptation, they had some villagers speculate that the Uchiha were behind it, and that apparently had pissed off some of the Uchiha. But I don't know if that was actually in the novel itself or just something that the anime added, because you know they sometimes. Do
It
that
also
kind of thing.
Also could have been a thing to where, similar to this is also in a novel, Danzo leaked out that Naruto's the Ninetales Jinchuriki to the village.
Yeah.
So in theory, he could have just done the exact same thing with the Uchiha because he was already biased against them anyway.
Even then,
no,
regardless of Danzo, I think even if a lot of the villagers were evacuated, it's a close word. Most of them were, but I don't think all of them were. Plus, it took time for them to evacuate. Anyways, a lot of villagers probably saw the big 3 Tomoe in Kurama's eye. Probably, you know, the gigantic
no, it seems
eye.
like they didn't.
Either way, it's totally possible. If not, then I'm sure some of the ninja that fought and survived Kurama definitely did. And regardless of Danzo, those peeved off ninja probably spread word of mouth. I mean, Mizuki was forbidden from telling about Naruto, but like, I don't think they were forbidden from talking about the Ninetales, just forbidden to talk about Naruto as the Ninetales.
To be honest, I
No,
don't.
they
think
weren't supposed to
them-
talk about it, period.
To be honest, I don't.
But
Well, I know
there
it's
was also-
taboo, but was it illegal?
Yeah, well, I mean, the girls were whispering about it to each other, adult woman, 20 feet away from Naruto, and then she's like, Shh, we're not supposed to talk about that. Like,
Yeah, but that was like, hey, look at that kid. He's the Ninetales. And like, no, we can't say that.
To be
I
honest,
think
I
they
don't.
just weren't supposed to talk about it, period.
To be honest, I don't think any of the Leaf Ninja actually saw the Tomori in Kurama's eyes. I think they just saw just a rampaging beast just going
They're
on
probably
there.
very distracted too, because let's just be honest, aside from like Minato and Hiruzen, like the people fighting them were not of the caliber to where they could afford to notice the eyes. They are too busy fodderingly failing to dodge his giant claws and tails attacking him. Like they don't have the luxury of deducing this information. They're just not on that level.
Yeah, I mean,
Also
yeah, I mean,
scared, distracted, among other things. Objectively, while Kurama has big eyes, compared to the rest of them, it's very small. So just the size proportions. And he also doesn't even have the three-tone way for like at least half of the invasion because Minato
Yeah.
deals with Obito pretty quickly.
I mean, I do feel like that's part of the reason, though, of why people blamed the Uchiha. At least that's what I sort of always
Yeah, it
thought.
was Danzo and the Elders for the most part. Also,
Yeah, but
because
then
this is also only in the Itachi novel, I'm pretty sure too. But the Uchiha didn't fight the Ninetales. Now that's because Danzo ordered them not to.
yeah,
But the Uchiha are not fighting the Ninetales, and that also plays a role as well.
yeah. I'd probably
Nobody seems to
say
notice the three-tone way. Don't ask me why.
that's it. Yeah, I will say this with the whole Danzo revealing the truth to Naruto. I think that's an interesting bit of information. I feel like since it was never really shown or told in the manga, and the fact Naruto never met Danzo, it doesn't really
crazy.
add anything because it's like
Especially after the Tenchi Bridge arc with his relationship with Sai. I can't believe Naruto never met Danzo. Even after the Pain
yes.
arc. Like, what?
yeah, it's like honestly, it's because it feels like if Naruto had learned that as well as the fact that he learned that Danzo is practically responsible for turning Nagato into like pain, if you will. There would be a bit more of an ideological clash at the very least. I wouldn't be. I think Naruto would basically would have accused Danzo of putting him in this situation and all that stuff. Maybe even
In a
tempted to.
way, I do think in one aspect it is better that Naruto never met Danzo, and that's because at the end of the Five Kage Summit, when he's talking to Sasuke, he says, "What you have done up to this point has been completely understandable." Naruto doesn't know about Danzo. If he has a personal grudge against Danzo, that feels like it's slightly more about Naruto rather than exclusively looking at Sasuke's perspective on the matter.
Yeah, and if this is ridiculous, but if hypothetically Naruto met Danzo and they were just shooting the shit and he just loved the dude, he would have a much harder time saying what you've done up till now is understandable if he just lost his best friend Danzo.
Yeah. But let's just say that randomly Tendo Pain, just the chakra receivers, just they fall out after or even before the cycle of hatred speech. So Naruto just hates Pain, and he just never thinks of the idea to go to Nagato. So Naruto just always hates Pain, and then randomly Sasuke kills Nagato afterwards. Then Five Kage Summit comes around. Naruto, I killed Nagato, is what Sasuke tells Naruto, and then Naruto's like, you did? Awesome! I hated that guy! Yeah, what you've done is absolutely understandable. I would have done it too, Sasuke! Don't even have to be you, I just do it myself! It's like, you can't have Naruto hate them in this case, because he'll just want it himself. He would have done it too.
Yeah. And like Naruto vaguely knows Danzo's kind of a bad dude, but like he doesn't know Danzo or any of what Danzo's really done because he just hears everyone be like, "Oh, Danzo, oh, Danzo." Yeah, he doesn't know what this dude is like.
He knows what he is to Sasuke. Not to Sasuke's degree, but like to enough of a degree.
By the way,
Yeah.
a few comments in the YouTube thing. Dan Arashikage is like, also Shikida is literally part of Gao's family and Kankuro told Shikamaru not to tell Tamari about this, so having Nishikacho as a backup team would make sense. Then goes like, and with their sense and Jura showing an interest in them in a good way to keep them apart in the story emo. And then Space goes, I think Kurama's eyes just turned into human-looking eyes when Obito's Genjutsu Kurama. And then Space asks, did Naruto even know Danzo was behind the falling of the original Katsuki? To answer that question,
Yes.
Naruto should, because Nagato told him that Danzo teamed up.
Nagato tells Naruto that Hanzo allied with a man named Danzo from the Hidden Leaf. So he doesn't overly explain what Danzo's do. He does explain because Danzo wants to like usurp power in the Leaf. Like he gives him like a very vague thing. He doesn't tell him that he pretended to be Hanzo and tricked Hanzo and all that. But like
That's what I
tells
was
him.
That's
Technically, he allied with
fillers ever
Hanzo.
done.
Nagato's
stuff
lying.
of, like, that stuff of tricking Hanzo's only in the anime, never in the manga.
I love it.
Was Konzo that he got with, not Danzo. It was Konzo.
Yeah, he tells like, Danzo allied with Hanzo, took out the Akatsuki and Yahiko, and Danzo wanted to do it for his own reasons and blah blah blah. So like, but Naruto's not thinking about the Danzo aspect of the story is the thing. He's just thinking, okay, Leaf was involved, and that's the end of it.
I mean, Hanzo may have wanted it, but Konzo is the one who allied with Hanzo.
Interestingly, I think I watched one of Daigo Knight's streams, and I think he ended up saying some stuff that will get Naruto much more involved in Danzo's stuff in the rewrite he's doing.
He's already done more Danzo, even where we're at.
Yeah, for the end of the 5 Kage Summit, though, going back to Naruto saying everything that Sasuke did is understandable, I think especially since this is the resolution coming out of the our roles were reversed imagery / Naruto monologue thing that we see there with the Chidori Rasengan clash. And that's obviously playing off of part 1 to where how could you possibly know what it's like? And then Pain Arc, Naruto finds out exactly what it's like. Not exactly, but you get the idea. So I think all of that's playing together in a really interesting way to where I'm glad this is like the big thing of the 5 Kage Summit arc between Naruto and Sasuke. The main A story. So I'm glad that Naruto didn't meet Danzo or Konzo for that regard. And I think that is important to point out. It's not just the one line of everything you've done is understandable. It's playing off of something else, which is playing off of something else, and all these dominoes going back to basically the beginning of the series, and like the point of Naruto, in my opinion.
And also, I think another argument you can make is, from a certain perspective, like Naruto not meeting Danzo or really interacting with any of the elders at all, he's almost been, to some extent, he's been affected by the corrupt ninja system, but he's never been directly exposed to it the same way as Sasuke. Now, Sasuke was also indirect for a lot of it, but like it directly affected him heavily and ruined his life, basically. So it's almost like Naruto's yet to see the corruption of the ninja system up until he learns about it in 5 Kage Summit, and then you have the Itachi debate thing with Naruto and Sasuke in the final fight. So it's almost like he's been shielded from the corruption for a long time. He just didn't know. And if he meets Danzo, it's kind of hard for him to not to know. You just gotta look at the dude for 2 seconds and you just see he's corrupt. So you could argue that as well.
In a way, I think it's better and worse. Go ahead.
I think in some ways it causes a bit of problems because in some ways Naruto doesn't really seem to have an answer to deal with this corruption, and it's like doesn't really necessarily have a counter like to some of what Sasuke is proposing with his, like, I guess you could say, revolution, really.
I think Awesome Chris also agrees with that. So shout out Awesome Chris, who agrees with that so much that they subscribed to us. That's how much they agree.
I was going to say,
thank you, Awesome
I'm
Chris.
sure Udi agrees with that too, though, because this is something we've kind of mentioned before, but I had mixed feelings with it. Uni's a little bit more strongly opinionated on this topic, but in part one, you get more of like Naruto has a specific answer of like ninjas are humans, not tools. True strength comes from protecting people you love, not fighting for yourself. Um, the Rasengan is just I'm gonna do the Rasengan and so on. Whereas in part two, it's more just the mindset of never give up. Now, obviously, never give up's present in all those early part one arcs, and obviously it should be very present in part two. But the answer just basically becomes never give up, and that's the end of it. Versus never give up until you find the answer, which is this. One way to word that. I see pros and cons of both, though, so that's where I get tripped.
Yeah, because there's no way for Naruto to get to the answer unless he first doesn't give. Like, that's the first step to even begin his journey, of which so he finds and does. But Naruto already has had the mindset, the thing he needed. He's had that since the Land of Waves arc. It's about doing something about it, and that's what part one has always been about. Even so much so to the point that Naruto just says he's gonna directly confront the Akatsuki after Itachi shows up. Like, he's gonna go there himself. It's cool.
So I have a quick question because I know you always wanted Naruto to have a more direct answer for pain. If hypothetically though, the pain arc's exactly the same. It's basically I'm gonna never give up. But then at the end of Shippuden, so like during the Sasuke fight at the end or something, that's where you get Naruto's answer to pain. Essentially, would you be okay with that?
Overarching wise, absolutely. In terms
yeah.
of the pain arc, it fixes it retroactively, but like in the moment, it's still quote unquote problematic. But I didn't have a problem with it until afterwards, anyways. So
Yeah, I don't think it's a problem within the pain arc personally, but I do think there's a very strong argument that at least to some extent he should have a little bit more answer. No, the answer does not need to be I'm gonna impose tariffs on the exports of this, and I'm gonna sign this peace treaty, and I'm gonna do the economic thing. No, it doesn't need to be that, but like, just something concrete enough, like just a little bit more, because like his answers with the Sasuke thing is really just about what it means to be a Hokage, which is great. For granted, they kind of did this with Obito too, but they're doing it in a different way with Sasuke, so nothing wrong with that. But you could probably implement somehow the peace plan. And no, Sasuke has his peace plan, obviously. And overall thematics are doing a thing. Like Sasuke's like, I'm gonna take the burden onto myself, and I'm gonna do everything and make everyone follow my orders. And this is where you get the Itachi thing, because Naruto's saying, well, no, you have to already be acknowledged by everyone to be Hokage, and then because you're already acknowledged, everyone's already getting along, blah blah blah. But but you're also not giving his answer, because what is his answer to peace just to be acknowledged, essentially?
I think I've made this comparison before, but as you know, in part one, Naruto doesn't need more of an answer. They do exactly what they should do, specifically Naruto versus Neji. I'm gonna fix the Hyuga clan after I become Hokage! He's not saying how he's going to fix it. He doesn't need to. He has a clear-cut path to being Hokage. From there, we believe Naruto can do it. We believe Hokage Naruto will be able to change the Hyuga clan. We don't know how. We don't care how. We just want to see Naruto become Hokage first and foremost. That doesn't really apply as strongly in the pain arc. He doesn't even say necessarily the same exact thing. Like if anything, he could have been like, I'll fix the raid village after I become Hokage. But I feel like Pain's not asking that. He's asking, okay, how will you do it? Never giving up is not how you're gonna fix the rain village. Never giving up on a what? Fixing the rain village? That's not fixing the rain village.
Then the worst thing the Boruto series did is have Naruto give up on the raid.
I was like, I watched the episode because I was curious. Are they finding an attack on the rain? It's like, nope, Naruto's ignored it for too long. It's like, this is like literally what you promised Nagato, and it's like, you're doing this, so it's like, no. And also in response, like the Hyuga thing, be honest, I don't think I've actually seen any real changes towards the Hyuga clan because the only thing they show is like Hiyashi being a kindly grandpa now or something. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, is the Hyuga ceiling still on like the lower branch members? Do new
No, I'm pretty
Hyugas?
sure no. I think this might be anime only, but even at like right before the war arc starts and that countdown, the war arc part of the story, there was a few things that just clearly implied that they weren't doing the curse marks anymore, and or weren't even prejudicing or even calling people side branch members. Like again, this might be anime only, but like they literally wanted Neji to be like the leader of the whatever thing,
That
and
was
then
an
Neji was
anime.
like, no, it should be Hinata, blah blah blah. But there's like Neji turned it down. Like, but they were trying to have Neji be like the leader, basically.
To be
I
fair,
believe you're talking about the Kahona Girls' Night anime filler.
interesting. Do they? Because I know that Neji's like, it's a mark that'll never be washed away. How could you possibly know what that's like? Oh, trust me, I know what that's like, Neji. But like, when Neji says that, does he mean it literally to where it's permanent and you can't remove the mark no matter what? Tsunade's expert healing can't undo the seals. Minato can't seal the seal, or anything. It's just permanently on his forehead. Or is it he saying that because the Hyuga aren't going to remove it, and because of his fate
Yeah, that's
destiny
the tricky
nonsense? I
part. Like, could Hiyashi have removed it? But then the question is,
feel
if
like
he
they should
could,
remove
why didn't he just do it like right after the tuning exams?
it.
Which makes it
Yeah.
seem like maybe he just can't.
Or at least like buy the war arc or something. Or I feel like even in the Boruto era, Neji would still have it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe, okay, this is ridiculous. I don't know what would happen. But if they do basically what Sasuke did with Onko's curse mark, maybe he could do like the curse unsealing technique and just pull out like maybe Hiyashi comes out of Neji's forehead or something. Like, maybe you can do that.
It's so
Yeah.
stupid. I love
And I suppose you could always have Naruto learn an Uzumaki technique to break that seal or something, maybe.
it.
Because I
Yeah.
feel like they would should be, but honestly, I think this is just this is what happens when you leave not really directly address some things. You get fans questioning and wondering like, what was even the point of introducing this plot line? But yeah,
Well,
I
the
mean,
point was entirely the narrative with the tuning exams, and it was
yeah,
peak. And I'm not changing that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good for short term, but long term, it left a lot of questions. I'd say.
Like,
That's
will
fair.
Naruto actually go through with this?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, we've been talking for a while. Why don't you give us your thoughts on all this?
But everything you said to the last like hour.
Thoughts?
Please go ahead.
The stage is yours.
I'm confused. What's going on?
Take it away.
At the moment, I think we're talking about the Hyuga clan seal.
I got lost because we were talking about Naruto's promise to the Hidden Rain Village and him fixing it, and then the Hyuga clan, his promise to the Hyuga clan fixing it, and then now and then all of a sudden we transferred to some other, or not really a conversation, but something else entirely. I just got lost a little bit.
That's a bit of a vituperative like take on the whole conversation.
I because like I don't know. All I heard was "take it away" from from Udi.
Well, I mean, like we're not asking you to like be obsequious about it, but like please go ahead. Just give us your thoughts.
Honestly, I was kind of hoping that Naruto would actually go through with his promise to Nagato on fixing the Hidden Rain Village. Now, I forgot when that promise was made,
It
but
was during the after the pain flashback.
after when he confronted Nagato and he gave his backstory on what happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Naruto was very tenebrious at the time. That's for sure.
he was I just love the fact that he was willing to listen to Nagato. And what
Well, I
and
mean,
what
that's the
happened?
thing, though. Like, Naruto is being very pellucid when he was talking to him, and up until the Boruto kind of made it more perfidious. But I
Well,
mean, at
I don't
first,
know. I mean, it was pretty mendicant, if you ask me. Like, Naruto was being very obsequious there, if you ask me.
well, I mean, if you see, my problem is so in the pain arc itself, Naruto made a very refulgent promise, but then in the Boruto era, because of that conversation with Shikamaru, it's painting him at a more tenebrous light, which
You
doesn't make
say
sense.
that, but at the same time, I feel like based on like everything we've seen with Kawaki and Konohamaru and Two Blue Vortex, I feel like it definitely comes across as a lot more perfidious than anything else.
Well, it's because they're to messaging the problem.
Well, like you say that, but at the same time, Two Blue Vortex so far has been very lugubrious.
I do have to agree. Like, I don't.
Okay, Kawu Udi.
Yeah, it has.
If
I'm
I'm
so
going to be
glad-
honest, go on.
I was gonna say I'm so glad you guys are flexing definite words from the dictionary. Words.
Well,
that
I mean, Immortal. I don't want to be too susurrous about this, so please give us your pellucid thoughts.
Oh my
If you don't mind, though, can you do it with as much celerity as possible?
Ah,
They talk about
I'm assuming that you're not somnolent or anything like that.
oh my god.
Well, please, Immortal, don't give me any shibitude.
Did I just say something while Immortal finds his words for a bit?
Please go ahead,
Yeah.
speak.
You can give us.
Please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. To be honest, with this whole talk with Naruto just kind of reminds me of this thing where I think Naruto reminds me of a third way centrist where they promise change but they don't actually follow through with it or something. And it feels like everything's stayed the same. Sorry if I'm getting a little political there, but I don't know.
Yeah.
By the way, Space has a bunch of comments that he's put, like, let's see, those when we talk about Danzo saying, I mean, yeah, if Naruto met Danzo before Pain's speech and know what Danzo did, then Naruto would just plain agree with Pain after giving a speech. He goes like, I mean, Uri seems to really want the MCs to give their whole answer to how they will change the system. Cough, Isuka Midoriya, cough. But that is a topic for another day or today. And you got Archduke Branch saying, yeah, Daigo has a whole arc around Naruto and Danzo in the coup d'etat arc. I think he calls that Civil War, to be honest. It's one of my favorite rewrite arcs. And then Space goes like, I remember when Udi didn't like that Naruto just said, this is my ninja way, or something after Obito's big speech in their fight, and Cam and Kami tried to defend it.
On that,
And then he said,
because I do want to add to that, I do feel like, because Conway, I remember at the time, you were saying, this is Jubito in the War Arc when he's slamming Naruto and Sasuke down to the ground. He's like, why don't you guys give up? And he gives like a 5-minute speech about it. And then Naruto's like, because I don't give up. And that's just his whole, that was Naruto's response. And you're like, well, nothing more needs to be said. It's more beautiful that he made it simple and sweet. That's all. It's better this way. I feel like leaving some stuff unsaid can be good. I agree. I feel like this isn't one of the situations. For example, you look at a movie we just watched 28 weeks later. At the end of the movie, the main characters are going to the helicopter, and it's nonsensical with, oh, where's the other guy? And it's like, he's not with us. All right, get on the helicopter. When like the guy wasn't letting them on the helicopter at all, regardless of the guy. And you could say, oh, it's so beautiful and sweet that it's left unsaid. You don't, it's implied. You can assume the reason that he's letting them on the helicopter. I don't think that's fair to say, because in the story, it's just directly contradicting itself for no given reason at all. I'm not saying everything needs a reason, but like they could have included a line such as, it was his final wish Please, you have to help us. It's what he wanted. He died so that we could do this. Doesn't that mean anything to you? Like, they don't have to go too over the top crazy with it, but give anything at all. And I feel like Naruto's answer is so generic and simple and vague that it does not answer the specifics of Obito's everything there.
Okay, to be honest, I was looking at something else when you started that. So the whole time a third talked about something with like Nagato. So I need you to relay the thing we're talking about.
Do you
I
remember?
listened to all the 28 days later thing and all that, but like,
Okay.
what was
Remember
the
when-
thing you were talking about?
When Jubito... Oh, yeah, go ahead, Bluestar.
Out of curiosity, have any of you seen 28 Years Later yet? I mean, I
Not
haven't.
yet. We're
Okay.
gonna see it.
Yeah,
soon.
I haven't. I haven't.
Okay.
We're gonna see it soon,
Enough.
though.
Alright.
But 28 days later was definitely better than 28 weeks later, but that's besides the point. Anyways, so back to... Okay, so Kamui, what I'm talking about is in the war arc when Jubito grabs Naruto and Sasuke's avatars and slams them to the ground and gives like his 5-minute speech on why they keep doing this, why they're being so persistent, why won't they just stop? And then Naruto's answers, "'Cause it's my ninja way, I never give up." And that's all Naruto responds with.
Uh-huh.
And I
Was it?
think I agree. Sometimes it is better to be short and sweet and more beautiful that way, and that's all that needed to be said. I think in other instances, they shouldn't just do that.
No,
or
I agree.
like,
It depends on the circumstance,
Oh.
but I don't think this scene is anything comparable to your 28 weeks later example. Because for one, Naruto not giving up isn't contradicting Naruto. It's consistent with Naruto. And two, that's the thing. Obito is basically there's only one thing Obito was different about with Naruto, and it's that Obito gave up and Naruto doesn't. And that's like the thing Obito is trying to make Naruto do. Give up. Because he's basically validating his path. So the one thing Naruto says is, "I don't give up, bro." That's all there is to it. So it's like the one and only thing Obito needed to hear was that. So Naruto can say 50,000 things, but none of those would have meant anything. The only thing that meant anything was the never give up part in Obito's case.
You can
That's the
say it all comes back to that, but then I would apply that to a lot of Naruto villains. Look at Naruto's speech to Gaara at the end of that fight. Gaara, you can say everything you just said about Gaara, and then you could just say Naruto could minimize his speech to "'cause it's my ninja way." And that's all he says.
But
That just
Gaara's thing
removes-
wasn't about giving up versus not giving up. That's what Obito's thing was. No,
Oh,
Gaara's thing was
Gaara
about
gave
fighting
up
for
on the
others
world.
versus fighting for yourself. So the thing is just Obito's thing was about the giving up versus not. That's the difference.
Okay, then you can minimize Naruto's speech to "I don't fight for myself," and that's all he says. That's all Gaara needed to
So-
hear.
Well, I mean, he. So basically, it's not exactly the same because,
What's your example?
like, it's not exactly the same though.
I mean, please elaborate.
So, Gaara asked him, like, why would you fight for anyone but yourself? And yes, I see what you're trying to say that Naruto could have said, because that's just what I do.
Yeah.
And technically, that could have worked, and you just say, oh. But the thing that's a little bit different is it's the way in which Gaara and Obito have a flaw and how that would just kind of specifically be addressed. So, Gaara's case, he's basically needing Naruto to just explain why friends are important. And then Gaara's also just seen he just lost. So he's already kind of been proven but that Naruto's way makes him stronger. And then it's just like, but Gaara isn't doing this purely because of a strength reason. So it's like, why do you do that in the first place? Here's why. And it's like, okay, love. That's why. That must be what makes him so strong. And he gets that answer. In Obito's case, it's kind of just like, I gave up. Why won't you give up? And Naruto, it's like, his answer was, that's who I am. I don't
That's
give
my
up. And it's in that that's I'm gonna say something else after, but that's basically telling Obito like you could have done that too. You could have just insisted on it, and then you wouldn't have become that way. Now the other thing you could have said, if you wanted more of an answer, would have been why Naruto doesn't give up. And if he wants to, he could have said something like, um, I don't know, Neji entrusted this to me. So for Neji's honor, I can't give up. And that's kind of like sort of like what Naruto says to Sasuke, where it's like everyone died or everyone get risked their lives to come here, so I have to fight you too, and Sasuke like, as well as what specifically Neji versus Kidomaru, like where it's like everyone called me a genius and is relying on me, so I can't lose, basically.
So real quick,
Naruto could have just taken that answer, and that would have worked fine. I would agree with
since
that.
they're
But
doing the Shinobi History theme as the final theme anyways, I'm not saying to incorporate that here, but I feel like both of my grievances with Shippuden could have been addressed by at least planting the seeds towards that. So Naruto says something alluding to, because of Shinobi History, to both Nagato and to Obito here.
okay,
As part of his
let's
answer.
go with that hypothetical and think of some possible things that won't take away from the later moment. So as an example, maybe like probably don't want to use this exact dialogue, but something akin to the idea of everything that's happened up to this point has made me who I am, and if I give up now, I will have invalidated all of that past. Something like that, at least in terms of an idea. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I also really liked your idea of mentioning Neji there. I feel like that could definitely work.
I liked Neji because one, Obito knows who that is. He just killed him.
It was
Neji
very
works
relevant at the
because
time, yeah.
that's past. It means something to Naruto. He literally didn't trust him with things. Neji's had a similar thing with Kidomaru in the past, and Neji's the best example. But yeah,
But real quick,
Good off
against
Jiraiya.
Gaara, I forget, against Gaara at the end, or even Neji, because they play Haku's theme at the very least, does Naruto say Haku out loud, or does he just flashback
No.
think about Haku?
No, he only thinks about Haku like when he's getting right before he gets his mental ant versus Gaara, he thinks back to what Haku said to him.
So even something like that for part one, I feel like is already planting a seed towards, in a way, the Shinobi History theme, in a way. I feel like just doing something like that, or even a little bit more than that, could just be enough for this. For both instances, with Nagato and Obito.
Okay, I got another hypothetical. Another hypothetical. If instead of Naruto's out loud words are exactly the same. What he says to Obito is I don't give up. But before he's actually real quick, let me just make sure they don't secretly do this and
Okay, I would have. I'm starting to notice that there are some frames dropping on my stream, but I want to keep this as short as possible. Alrighty, so I thought that was pretty interesting. Obito's, giving up. Obito just basically trying to make Naruto give up on who he is because he's given up on himself and he's abandoned who he was beforehand. And, Naruto staying true to who he is till the very end. And just, never abandoning his ninja way. And so, in the end, what we see is that Obito uses the Sword of Nunoboku, which is literally the extension of Obito's will, but it's a power, not really power, but it's a tool that the Sage Six Paths used to create the entire world. So when he uses that tool up against Naruto and Sasuke, Naruto, his will was proven to be way stronger than Obito's, because at that given point, he pretty much just proved to Obito that he could have taken a path where he could actually become the first Uchiha Hokage in the sense of what Sarada is trying to do in this new age. And so through the power of Talk no Jutsu, or if you want to consider it Ninshu, which I actually have a video talking about, Naruto's Talk no Jutsu and how it bridges the gaps and it connects people through understanding, and how, through that power of Ninshu, he is able to connect to Obito and make Obito realize the things that he has done up until this given point, what he could have been instead of what he is now, trying to be like Madara. So that was pretty interesting to me. And that little bit was also, something that I really wanted to talk about for a little bit. And I kind of wanted to cut that off because I don't want to go anywhere over 1 hour and 30 minutes. So I'm going to listen to more of what Kamui Udi has to say. But that's interesting because, it shows that Naruto is not going to abandon who he is. After everything that everyone has entrusted him with, he is not going to give up now. Not when he's trying to end this war and to make sure no one dies. But we all know that was inevitable. We knew that, Neji was going to die, but he didn't die in servitude of Hinata, or he didn't die to try to prove that, destiny can't be changed, or that destiny is set in stone. Because he died to keep the war going. He died I think he did die for the war in a sense, but not in servitude of Hinata, but for something else completely entirely. Something entirely different. So I might have to read the manga all over again. But yeah, that's just my thoughts. That's just my takes on this.
Chapter's called Regret. So Obito's like, he's talking to everyone, like, telling him to give up and blah, blah, blah. Then, like, Naruto's crying, he's saying, grr. And then Sasuke's like, yo, you throwing in your towel, Naruto? Because I'm not. You get Naruto's feelings.
And
all these
he's
things
able-
of him with Sasuke. He's getting
Yeah.
everyone's seeing his feelings. He's seeing Asuma dying. He's seeing Nagato. He's seeing Grand Chio dying. Neji dying.
Yeah.
I don't want to regret anything.
Now,
I
one
don't want to think
thing.
I should have. Plus, I can't just make everything that we've done up to this point meaningless. So that is taking that idea.
Mhm.
But I like the Neji quote idea.
But,
So real quick- go
one
ahead.
thing I'm curious about. When Naruto was showing Sasuke reacting to like the Itachi and Nagato thing, is it only him that sees that, or is everyone else? Because I'm wondering, because everyone will be like,
So-
why the fuck are you thinking Itachi?
Everyone
So what I
saw these were Naruto's memories flooding into people, so I assume
oh
they saw
Yeah.
Itachi too.
this is
Yeah.
what I wanted to add. So what was going on? So I think I made a video on this, but what's going
What's
on
this panel,
here?
by the way, Calvin?
Huh?
What's the panel, if you can? Calvin?
Oh yeah,
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Can you post the panel in chat as well?
yeah.
Oh shit, I just left it.
So so I don't think now I don't know if this is the case, but I would say Naruto in that sense, I don't think he noticed that what he was doing was some form of Ninshu-esque type of ability with Ino transferring with I think Ino's mind transfer juice is still active. So it's not really like
Yeah, that's what
it's
it
more so
was.
he's trying
Yeah.
to connect. It's more so he's trying to connect, well, project his memories, but to also, I don't know what he was trying to do. I think
I don't think he
if it
was
was,
trying to do anything. I think it was just
it was more so
was
he
thinking
didn't.
about these things, and then those thoughts.
Everyone,
Yeah.
Flooded into
Yamagasumi
everybody
plays
because he-
here. Mountain Haze. This is like my favorite scene in the war arc.
yeah, I think it was more so while he was thinking about those things, everyone was able to see into what Naruto was thinking, and it was, I think at that moment, it kind of had everyone just like, just contemplating on what happened to Naruto and how he was treated growing up. So it started, I think people were starting to become more empathetic towards Naruto in the war.
Real quick, Conway. brain fart moment. You can call me dumb all you want. I think that's totally justified and fair. Whose grave is this? Slash graves. I've just never put 2 and 2 together for this.
Jiraiya's fake one.
Why is there 3?
The one that
3
Naruto
kunai?
made for Jiraiya.
Because I feel like this should, because it's 3, I feel like this should be Yahiko, Nagato, and Konan. Or like the 3 Sanin, but they're not dead.
It's Jiraiya's.
I mean,
Yeah,
their paper's
yeah,
there.
It was added
Why
in
is-
the volume. It was
Why
added
is
in the volume.
Konan's-
Konan gave Naruto the paper flowers before
Or
Konan
Jiraiya's
leaves, and Naruto
grave.
puts them there as Jiraiya's grave.
And what's the thing that's like right there?
Briar's book, I believe.
Oh, the book. Okay. Is this what's on his forehead? The oil sign or whatever?
Probably. I mean, you of
Yeah.
all people should be able to read that.
Yeah, so I mean, what's the 3 kunai for, though? Why 3? Because it's always confusing.
Maybe it's like a barrier seal that protects it. I don't know.
Because, like, there's so much fan art of people in front of this. Naruto and Boruto, Tsunade and Orochimaru. There's so many people in front of this. I'm like, but this feels like it's Yahiko, Nagato, Konan.
Could be
And then
a
also
reference
with,
to
like,
Three
with-
Sanin, maybe. But,
With Ino and Shoji right here, and even Shikamaru here, I feel like this could also be, based on this page alone, should have been Asuma's grave. Based on this. Like, yeah, you have the Jiraiya thing right here, but regardless of that, I feel like this just should be Asuma's grave, based on the panel, or the page.
No, it's not.
honestly, it'd probably just be just more of Kishimoto not doing the best paneling with this stuff.
That's fair as well.
Let's see. By the way, there's a few more comments with one from Space asking a question at the end. Let's see it. Following where I left off, he goes like, "I'm shocked Kishimoto was fine with Boruto writers and novel writers just having Naruto not fix the Rain Village." And then you got Dan Arashikage going like, "Actually seems like property increased after the war. Ichibigo literally grew up in a landfill." And then Space goes, "Shonen in general kind of has an issue where whenever they have a corrupt system and then trying to fix it, sometimes like One Piece, Jujutsu Kaisen, My Hero Academia, and Naruto and Bleach, etc." Let's see, and I respond to that saying One Piece, I'd argue, is a bit challenging its corrupt system than most shonen manga, mostly due to the nature of our protagonists being pirates, so they're not really a part of the system. And then Space has a question for you, Odie, saying, would you have this same opinion on other main characters, or do you feel this is the way for Naruto?
I mean, probably case by case basis. I think I can answer both at the same time. I feel like this especially applies to Naruto because this is a coming of age story to where Naruto's growing up. We're seeing Naruto's growth, his journey in particular. We're rooting for Naruto, this naive kid who starts from nothing and grows into the Hokage, who's admired and acknowledged by everyone in the village. You know, the kid who's naive, even at the end of part 1, as Sasuke says, and he's supposed to grow into this mature and responsible adult, well, still being Naruto, of course, but someone capable of being a leader to his family, the village, the world even. He saved the world, both literally and metaphorically. Naruto this especially applies to, and I feel like Kid Naruto in many ways was more mature than Teen Naruto. Again, you look at Naruto's answers, I feel like conceptually the answers he gave to Gaara and Obito should have been reversed. It makes more sense from a overarching perspective, holistic perspective, for Naruto to give a shorter, sweeter answer to Gaara, who I think he resonates more with anyways, but also he's more naive, he's more of a kid, he's more emotional back then, compared to after the pain arc, to where he's supposed to have developed this complex answer against this complex world that he's having to not just figure out, but now actually decide specific things on, against Obito, who, in my opinion, relates to less than he would with Gaara, especially emotionally, but Obito is bringing up actual points on the world, as opposed to Gaara, who's just emotionally lashing out. You could say that Obito's points boil down to one specific thing. I disagree. I do think Obito has legitimate points on the world that are more than just, I gave up, why don't you? and Naruto isn't answering that. So I feel like, regardless of all the specifics, I feel like holistically, Naruto should have developed his answer to be more and more complex as time went on, especially with the context of the Naruto series, to where part 1, he's naive, part 2, the pain arc happens, and he's supposed to have this cool answer after that, especially after that. Especially go to the war arc, the final arc of all of Naruto, where everyone in the world acknowledges him. Yeah.
Well, speaking of things Naruto could have said and Neji, so I have Neji's.
Okay,
And so,
I'm so glad. Okay, real quick, homie, real quick. I wanted to first go over the worst things that Naruto can quote from Neji in response to Obito. So what's the final thing that Obito says specifically? Is it, Naruto, why don't you just give up already? Like, what does he say exactly?
I thought you weren't going to let any of your comrades die. Is that the one you're talking about?
No. So I'm talking about, like, when he slams Naruto and Sasuke to the ground, and then they're about to do the Avatar combination thing. Oh, is this it?
Okay, hold on. Let me go.
Yeah, the thing that we're talking about where it was the other thing. It wasn't any of this.
All right, hold on.
Yeah. Hopefully you can find it. It
Yeah,
might...
Okay, so I would try to stay on for as long as I can, but I'm starting to lose frames, and I don't think my connection is gonna. I don't think it's looking good for my connection, but that should be a good bit of content for my channel. Yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning into this podcast episode. This is episode 2 of the Limit Breaker podcast, the show in which we break our limits. If you guys are interested in more episodes like this where we go into a deep dive on Boruto and Naruto topics, let me know in the comments down below. And while you guys are at it, please like the video, subscribe to the page, and ring that notification bell icon for more episodes and more deep dive discussions. I wanted to stay on, but I really can't because I'm starting to my connection is kind of like going a little bit haywire. So I would have continued this, but I really can't. So, yeah. Peace out, and see you guys later.